Horror movie moms are some of the scariest women out there. When they're not helicopter parenting their precious little monsters, they're tearing apart any potential threats like an angry bear, making for some seriously messed up children in the process. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and when you're dealing with knife-wielding lunatics, supernatural terrors, and savage monsters, you're gonna get a particularly rotten bunch. Let's take a look at the ones that define the horror genre with their psychotic proclivities then, shall we? After all, it's not just boys whose best friend is their mother, as plenty of these maniacal mommies prove. I am the mother lover, Ash from WhatCulture, and these are the 10 scariest mothers in horror movie history. 10. Mama. Moms come in all shapes and sizes, and Andy Muschietti's Mama is no different. A spirit intent on reuniting with her daughter at any cost, this supernatural presence latches on to two very alive little girls with her very dead ghostly ways, and will stop at nothing to ensure that they join her in the afterlife. With the horror monster extraordinaire Javier Botet characterizing this lingering entity, Mama's creep factor rockets up exponentially, with long limbs, distorted features, and a floating, underwater quality to her appearance that makes her presence all the more imposing. Mama is terrifying both in her appearance and in her sheer determination to capture the young lives she has devoted herself to, and shouldn't be underestimated in her otherworldly capability to literally scare people to death. And I should probably mention the whole deal of her killing a biological child by leaping off a cliff with it that sparked her return as this malevolent spirit in the first place. So there is that whole mess to unpack in there too. Here's to you, Mama. 9. Other Mother. Coraline. A dark fantasy movie that brings horror to animation, Coraline is a type of genre movie that strikes fear into the hearts of children the world over, and a great handful of adults too. And that is largely thanks to the sinister trappings of Other Mother, a strange parallel version of Coraline's own mother that attempts to convince the young girl to stay and live with her in a world of her own creation. Other Mother's most alarming features are the pair of buttons that replace her eyes. The deal with Coraline going that if she wants to stay in a colourful created world and enjoy the extra attention she doesn't get from her real family, she has to replace her own eyes with buttons too. Bit much, but okay. With such strange demands as plucking out one's own eyes to accessorise the holes like an old coat, it comes as no surprise that Other Mother is actually some massive, terrifying demonic creature, one that disguises herself to consume the lives and trap the souls of her prey. Sometimes the grass isn't greener, it is just astroturf on a pit of quicksand. 8. Mrs. Bates. Psycho. The OG of horror mommies, Mrs. Bates sits somewhere between fiction and reality for this list. Once a defining force in psychotic murderer Norman Bates' life, and then a figment of his own imagination that drives him to kill. Good old Mother Bates ended her life in a murder-suicide in which she poisoned her lover, and her horrors didn't stop there. Absorbed into Norman Bates through sheer force of will, the boy is ruled by the recreation of his mother in his own head, a personality that has manifested itself into something twisted and deadly. We see quite how this has all happened at the end of the movie, with Norman dressed up as his mom, with one grisly appearance from the corpse herself to really seal the deal on her lack of physical involvement from beyond the grave. Mrs. Bates may not be a tangible, flesh and blood presence in the movie as much as any of the other entries are, but what she lacks in life, she brings tenfold in death. An icon if there ever was one. 7. Sueanne. Ma. Not every mother is biological, and Sueanne's nurturing nature, to the point that the kids she's interacting with are calling her Ma, proves that nicely. It's only when the pizza rolls turn into gunshots and buying beer turns into stealing lives that her true nature jumps out. And it comes with deadly consequences for the teenagers that use her basement as a party hangout. Offering her home up as a place for high schoolers to drink without legal repercussions seems like a great idea for Maggie and her pals to begin with. But that is until Ma shows her true colours, and they realise that not everything is as it seems in Ma's house of horrors. And then she cracks out the dog blood. They become embroiled in a terrifying game of Sueanne's creation, an act of vengeance for her own traumatising past when she was humiliated as a teenager by horrible kids pretending to be her friends, the parents of the group that hang out with her now. If it's too good to be true, then it probably isn't. Don't hang out in strangers' basements, kids. 6. Margaret White. Carrie. Poor Carrie. With a mother like Margaret, you can kind of understand why she got frustrated to the point of murdering all of her classmates in a fit of bloody, fiery rage at their school prom. Or just empathise a little bit. We all get a little stabby sometimes, figuratively at least. And a little stabby sometimes is probably the best way of describing Margaret too. Well, a lot stabby, as it happens, and there is nothing figurative about it. Raising a teenager with burgeoning telekinetic powers and a pair of dirty pillows does not agree with her Christian sensibilities, and Carrie must pay through punishment, mental and physical torture, and an eventual attempted murder. Margaret White is the ultimate in smothering motherhood of the most toxic nature, to the point where she brandishes a knife on her own daughter. Sick in the head, unforgivably cruel, and warped by years of her own fanatical beliefs, she is a terrifying force of evil throughout the movie, culminating in a psychotic break that is not easily forgotten. 5. Nathalie Coffin, Mother's Day. It would be remiss to celebrate this final day without the film of the same name making an appearance. And with a mother as bad and a name as badass as Nathalie Coffin, that sentiment goes double. The original is an 80s slasher film that sees this mother raise her twisted adult sons into demented killers, with the group capturing and torturing people for the amusement of Mother in their ramshackle house in the middle of the woods. Whilst the 1980s Mother's Day deals in grisly exploitation and is more horrible than horror movie with its depiction of violence against women, there is no doubt about it that Mother is one of the scariest parents out there, and she gets a fine upgrade as Nathalie Coffin in the 2010 remake. There, Coffin is portrayed by Rebecca De Mornay in perfectly sadistic form, elevating the film's twisted premise to unbelievably unsettling heights as her sick family of killers wreak havoc on a birthday party. Disobedience has consequences, dear watcher, and you don't want Mother's punishments. 4. Pamela Voorhees, Friday the 13th. The mother that kicked off the Friday the 13th franchise and queen of the knife-wielding maniacs, Pamela Voorhees just wanted justice for her son's death at the hands of negligent Camp Crystal Lake counsellors. And justice she got. Until Alice cleaves her head off at the end of the film, anyway. Poor Pamela doesn't get half the credit she deserves, with Jason taking the spotlight. So I'm going to put that to rights with a big old appreciation entry right here. Mrs. Voorhees is bloody terrifying even 30 years after her one and only outing as the original scourge of Crystal Lake. And her unhinged, dogged pursuit of those foolish enough to spend time at the doomed lake is enough to put any watcher off their camping holiday quicker than you can say ki, ma ma ma. A dab hand with all sorts of equipment, from axes to arrows and everything in between, Pamela Voorhees is the multi-talented mother of slashers we all needed but didn't deserve at the time. God bless you, Mrs. Voorhees, and everything you have done for the genre since. 3. Nola Carveth, The Brood. Being a mother to a child is one thing, but being a mother to a horde of physically realised projections of rage is entirely another. Respect your mother, guys, you have no idea what she's been through. And Nola Carveth has been through a hell of a lot, with asexual reproduction of a troop of children that tear apart anything that pisses her off, just the tip of the iceberg in her rather stressful existence. Treated by her psychotherapist with an experimental new treatment, psychoplasmics, Nola's rage predominantly devolves from her messy divorce proceedings, seeing a whole host of people die under mysterious circumstances as Nola's physical emotions, her monstrous kids born from an external womb, do her dirty work for her. As The Brood is directed by David Cronenberg, you can guarantee it is a particularly messy affair from start to finish, and Nola's personal trauma is realised in extraordinarily gross body horror fashion. There is not much scarier than a woman that can send her own strange killer babies after you out of spite. 2. Xenomorph Queen, Aliens. Again, mothers come in all shapes and sizes, so what should stop one 14-foot hulking behemoth with a pharyngeal jaw getting a bouquet of flowers and some I heart my acid-blooded mommy chocolates on Mother's Day? Nothing, I say. A monster by any other word, the Xenomorph Queen is a cultural touchstone of horror movies as much as she is just a big old badass creature creation, defining a franchise of films with her evil baby spawn that serve as the perfect organism. Chock full of protective rage and vitriolic vengeance at Ellen Ripley's destruction of her and her children's home they've set up in a space colony, this mother is not afraid to go toe-to-toe with the formidable Ripley, even when she's safely tucked away in a power loader. Plus, surviving without her ovipositor and pursuing Ripley without it is just gnarly as hell. If there's one mom you have zero chance of surviving here, it is this one. 1. Vera Cosgrave, Brain Dead. Despite every other murderous mother on this list doing a grand old job of inspiring the willies in viewers, there is one perturbing parent that absolutely takes the crown for being the scariest mother in horror movie history. Both before and after her bloody transformation, Vera Cosgrave from Brain Dead is the most nightmarish vision of motherhood movies can muster up. overbearing, bullying, emotionally manipulative, this woman has it all. And then she gets bitten by a Sumatran rat monkey, and all of her horrible characteristics are brought crashing forth into physical being as she rots from the inside out. Infected with a zombie virus that seems to kill her and then reanimate her, she slowly grows into a monstrous, giant creature intent on getting her son and his lover, finally consuming him in the most fitting representation of overbearing motherhood that could be visually realized on screen. She is just downright horrible, and horribly entertaining to boot, making for the apex of terrifying mothers in a genre that deals with them on the daily. Really puts the mother in hey? And that's our list. What other terrifying mothers belong up here? Share your thoughts and your love for your own mother in the comments section below. I've been Ash, and this has been WhatCulture. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and come back again soon for some more spine-tingling horror content. Thanks for watching.